We are in 2 Kings chapter 5 today, then Psalm 30. It hasn't been that long since we've heard from Psalm 30, quite frankly. If you recall, and I'm sure you do, yes. Easter 3, we actually visited Psalm 30. So heavily used psalm there. Maybe we'll find out why. And then we're going to finish up Paul's letter to the Galatians, chapter 6. And then we have our bit from Luke, where we're in chapter 10, there in the Gospel of Luke. So let's start with 2 Kings chapter 5. We're in the midst of the Elisha stories. Elisha, remember, was the successor to Elijah. And today's episode is something that shares a distinction in that Jesus, in his teaching, specifically referred to this story. So that would make us want to particularly pay attention to it, yes? 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 1 through 14. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man and in high favor with his master, because by him the Lord had given victory to Aram. Now, what's Aram? Aram, well, we're familiar with Aram in that we know that the language that was spoken in Jesus' day was actually Aramaic. Get it? Aramaic. Yeah, so the Aramaic language came from that northern area just north of Israel, north of the northern kingdom of Israel. And there was some fighting here and there between the northern kingdom and Aram. And we have attestation by our scriptures that the Lord was heavily involved in Aram as well. And so this is significant because if Israel is, the northern kingdom is still a part of that chosen people of God, which is heavily attested to in our Deuteronomic history, which is, from Deuteronomy through Kings, then the fact that the Lord would give this foreign, if you will, entity victory and somehow use it in the master plan, we need to stand up and take note. So this is what has happened. So this is what they were, a Gentile people, okay? But the Lord had given victory to him. How about that? The man, this is talking about Naaman, though a mighty warrior, suffered from leprosy. Whenever we see the word leprosy, especially in scripture of the Old Testament, it's not necessarily the kind of skin disease that requires somebody to be secluded away from public, okay? The word that we translate as leprosy was very indistinct for some sort of skin disease, okay? And it might not necessarily have been something like what we think of when we think of leper colonies and all of that, right? It could have just been, I don't know, eczema, the heartbreak of psoriasis, dandruff. We don't know for sure. Maybe it was boils. I don't know. But the Hebrew word that we translate as leprosy was a very sweeping word that could have been for any number of skin ailments, if you will. Okay? Not all of which required you to seclude away. Now, the Arameans, on one of their raids, they did raids from time to time into the northern kingdom of Israel, had taken a young girl captive from the land of Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria." She is referring to Elisha, okay? Samaria was the capital city of the northern kingdom at that time. Remember, I think it was King Ahab that had built the capital there. This is modern day Nablus. It was known as Neapolis back in the Roman days. Nablus now. I've been to Nablus. There's a lovely restaurant there that we go to. We went to 5 years ago, and we went there again this year. If only my Lord were the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy. Notice that this witness of this slave girl, notice that she didn't use her circumstances to be like, well, I'm going to withhold because I'm bitter and upset about my life situation, and so good, I'm glad he's got. No, she's not like that. She's like, well, my God has made provision for things like this, and he's done it with this prophet that can be accessed, and there he is. So her witness is something that is something that, if you think about the context of the way the book was written, or when the book was written, it was written at a time when Israel had been in exile, okay? And so here we have an example of a girl who has, in effect, been exiled, but she still attests to the power of God through this prophet, and she is anxious to talk about it, which is in and of itself, it is a call to the exiled people to, like, don't lose heart, don't lose faith, don't lose your witness, don't lose your, understanding that God is still at work, even though we're in these terrible circumstances. That does not mean God is not at work. See, a lot of times people make the mistake of correlating bad circumstances with with God's absence, God's hiding his face or whatever. But no, she doesn't say, oh, well, I guess we're all screwed. No, she doesn't. He would cure him of his leprosy. So Naaman went in and told his Lord just what the girl from the land of Israel had said. And the king of Aram said, go then, and I will send along a letter to the king of Israel. Notice he doesn't send him to the prophet. He just sends him to the king, knowing that the king would know where the prophet would be, hopefully, right? That would be the presumption, right? He went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of garments. It is not uncommon for people who are going to procure the services of a prophet, especially with regard to a healing, to cross their palms with silver, if you will, services rendered, that kind of thing, right? These, we don't find resolution to these gifts in this week's story, though, because this week's story only deals with the Naaman situation. It doesn't deal with how the gifts get resolved, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. But like I said, we're not getting into that today. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, when this letter reaches you, know that I have sent to you my servant Naaman, that you may cure him of his leprosy. Okay? Now, the king is going to have a reaction here, and this is supposed to be a little bit of a comedic interplay, okay? One of the basic tenets of creating a comedic story is to have some sort of a misunderstanding, a misrepresentation, a misidentification. Like, oh, I thought this person was that and they weren't that. And so here, look at this. When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes. This means he was extremely upset, right? And said, am I God to give life or death, that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his leprosy? He's taking this as a literal thing. Like, he's mistaken me for someone who can actually do something for him. Just look and see how he's trying to pick a quarrel with me. We're supposed to go, ha, 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 isn't this funny that the king thinks that the letter is actually directed at him? So check it out. If you've ever studied literature, and especially comedy, one of the basic tenets in comedy is the misunderstanding, the misrepresentation, the misidentification of taking somebody for another, and that's what the whole about. So this is classic as far as storytelling trope. Okay, actually I don't have my verses in front of me. This is verses 8. But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, I guess word gets around. If you're the king and you rip your garments to say like, oh, woe is me. I guess you didn't need Twitter back then. It got around. He sent a message to the king. Why have you torn your clothes? Why are you so upset? What's the grief here? What's your major malfunction here, king? Let him come to me that he may learn that there is a prophet in Israel. So all of this consternation, all of this upset is like dissipated in this word from the prophet. This is a part of what our Deuteronomistic historian is doing, in that he is attesting to the fact that there is power in the words of the prophets. And this power seeks to alleviate the king of his distress. So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and halted at the entrance of Elisha's house. So somehow the king knew where Elisha was, and he gets kicked. So we don't see anything more from the king, but his little bit is over. Verse 10, Elisha sent a messenger to him saying, notice Elisha doesn't come out and greet him. He just sends somebody. It's like, oh, because you would hear the horses, there would be quite a lot of noise, and Elisha's like, oh, go tell him this. Elisha sent a messenger to him saying, go, wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean. Now, there's a little bit of a nationalistic strain of thought going here, because Naaman's response is like, let's just read it. Verse 11. But Naaman became angry and went away, saying, I thought that for me he would surely come out. See, he's just insulted that, we've already been told that he's such a great man and a commander and all of that. It's like he's used to getting the royal treatment, but here he does not. So his upset is a little bit about like, I've been dissed. Okay. I thought that for me he would surely come out and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God and would wave his hand over the spot and cure the leprosy. So it's just a spot, is it? So we don't know. Maybe this is one of those things like a cancer or, we don't know. Just a spot. Interesting. And cure the leprosy. And again, this is that same word for leprosy that we don't know exactly what kind it is. So he had a specific way he wanted this service to look, okay? He wanted it to look a certain way, and it didn't look like that. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? And then he touches back on this nationalistic, ethnocentric kind of a thing. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? This is referring to like, hey, I got water way upstream from this place. Got to remember, the Jordan is just runoff from Mount Hermon, right? All that, and from the rainy season as well. But they had their own rivers where he was. It's like, my country is better than your country, kind of a thing. It's like, well, I got water cleaner than this. And this is a little bit of a poke at that attitude of well, mine stuff is better for simply because it's mine, and yours is worse automatically because yours is yours, and you are. And so it's a bit of a poke at nationalism, or poke at being ethnocentric, ethnically thing like, oh, well, we're better than they are, kind of a deal, okay? Could I not wash in the waters from his. He turned and went away in a rage. Well, I never. Verse 13. But his servants approached and said to him, Father, this is a typical way of addressing a superior. There's also Lord, Father, but this is typical. Father, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? Oh, common sense comes to the rescue. Pointing out, like, isn't this interesting how, like, the ways of human being, they have not really changed all that much now, have they? How much more when all he said to you was, wash and be clean? So he went down and immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan. Apparently this was a very persuasive tack, what he said to him. According to the word of the man of God, his flesh was restored like the flesh of a young boy, and he was clean. This is the end of the reading that we get in our lesson today. We don't get the rest of this. I just want you to just know that where it all goes, though. Naaman does end up becoming a believer. Jesus does refer to, remember Jesus when he's doing healings, and it's pointed out that why would you do healings on the Sabbath? Why would you heal this person here? Why would you heal that person there? And Jesus points out that God has always had an eye toward working good even for those who don't call upon him as their God. Yeah, this is something that we typically, we call it a universalism. It's a stroke toward universalism. The idea that, the God of Israel wants to be more than just the God of Israel. The intention is to be the God of everyone, always. It's never been intended to be an exclusivistic religion where it's like, no, we've got to protect and we got to hunker down and just be the best whatever's we can be. No, it's always been one that's looked outward, wanting to bless the whole world, using Israel as that seedbed from which all of that goodness could then flow. A wonderful story, and one that we should take to heart, especially because of the fact that Jesus refers to it. Okay, so remember our psalm reading typically has a recollection of what the first reading was about. And so in Psalm 30, and we actually have the whole psalm, you kind of are gonna hear things that could be in the back of the mind of the actors and characters in that scene from 2 Kings. Verses 1 and following, Psalm 30. I'm going to read it from the Book of Common Prayer version. Psalm 30. Psalm 30. Like I said, we did have it back in Easter 3, the third Sunday of Easter, so it hasn't actually been that long ago in the big picture. Verse 1, I will exalt you, O Lord, because you have lifted me up and have not let my enemies triumph over me. It could be like saying, like, okay, maybe this is like, it could be seen as the voice of Naaman, maybe, right? O Lord, my God, I cried out to you and you restored me to health. Yeah, okay. You brought me up, O Lord, from the dead. You restored my life as I was going down to the grave. Indeed, right? Sing to the Lord, you servants of his. Give thanks for the remembrance of his holiness. For his wrath endures but the twinkling of an eye, his favor for a lifetime. Weeping may spend the night, but joy comes in the morning. Those are some of the two of the most wonderful verses in the entire Psalms in talking about and it's a good reflection of the experience of God because quite frankly, the God of Israel was considered to be a bit random. And the randomness had to do with the wrath, and it's like things that were interpreted as the wrath. It's like, but it's so small compared to the big goodness. But joy comes in the morning. Verse 7, while I felt secure, I said, I shall never be disturbed. You, Lord, with your favor, made me as strong as the mountains. Got to remember, one of the things that happens in the story that we did not read was that Naaman does become a believer, even though it wasn't narrated. Then you hid your face, and I was filled with fear. Ooh. Hiding of the face is an expression of not necessarily the absence of God, but the idea of like, I know God exists, but yet I don't feel his face upon me. Maybe God is hiding, to hide one's face. So it's as though that the hiding of the face somehow veils or obscures the efficacy of the Lord's favor towards someone. Then you hid your face, and I was filled with fear. I cried to you, O Lord. I pleaded with the Lord, saying, what profit is there in my blood if I go down to the pit? Will the dust praise you or declare your faithfulness? Hear, O Lord, and have mercy upon me. O Lord, be my helper. You have turned my wailing into dancing. You have put off my sackcloth and clothed me with joy. Therefore my heart sings to you without ceasing. O Lord my God, I will give you thanks forever. Definitely an appropriate psalm for someone who's received healing from the prophet of God, right? And that is all we're going to say about all of that. Hopefully we can find hopefully we can find hope for ourselves, those of us who may have particular ailments, those who have different predilections of, in not being 100% whole. Okay, hopefully we find comfort in that, right? Okay, we are moving on to our New Testament readings. Galatians chapter 6, we're going to finish up Galatians today. Remember, in Galatians, Paul is really fighting it as far as putting forth a message to the people, because he is battling this, how Jewish does the church need to be? And how Jewish do people need to be who want to join in the celebration of Christ as the Messiah? And he's giving some personal advice here, and then he's going to move on to a conclusion. We don't actually get to the last couple of verses, but maybe I'll read them anyway. My friends, I'm in verse 1 of chapter 6 of Galatians. My friends, if anyone is detected in a transgression, you who have received the Spirit should restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness. Take care that you yourselves are not tempted. So Paul is playing the card of, he's been talking about living by the Spirit, being guided by the Spirit, as opposed to the law, and he is taking a stand here for graciousness, the idea that we should have the attitude toward people that God has toward people, which is being, softening that heart just a bit, as opposed to being hard-hearted SOB, right? Take care that you yourselves are not tempted. He's like, this could have happened to you. You could be that person if you don't watch out. Bear one another's burdens. Oh, that's wonderful. And in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. When I was dating a girl in college, her name was Carrie Oberg, and she said that my name, Wayne, meant a burden bearer. And she's right to some extent, because that's part of the derivation of the word Wayne, but someone who bears burden. So this was a favorite, to bear one another's burdens, Galatians 6:2. Bear one another's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. The law of Christ, remember, is the law of love. Love your neighbor as yourself, that kind of a thing. Have love for one another, the commandment to love, all right? Bear one another's burdens, and in this way, so it's like, take upon yourself and see. It's as though we see our compatriots in the faith, and our heart goes out to them. We want to share in that because we're all in it together, okay? We're all in this same human experience together. To bear one another's burdens is to fulfill the law of love, to love one another. This should have a wider application than just how I conduct my life, but it should have a wider application as to how we think that our everything should be run, okay? Really. Verse 3, for if those who are nothing think they are something, they deceive themselves. So here Paul is referring to some teachers that he's combating against, and they are being a bit boisterous and annoying to him. And so he's like, it's not like Paul doesn't boast, but because he does, but he's like in this battle, if you will, against some of the teachers who want to make sure that they stay more Jewish than he thinks is necessary, okay? For if those who are nothing think they are something, they deceive themselves. All must test their own work. Then that work, rather than their neighbor's work, will become a cause for pride. For all must carry their own loads. That's interesting. He just talked about we must bear each other's burdens, and now he says everybody must carry their own loads. Well, here this is talking about whether or not the burdens of the law are something that should be put on everybody else. And those teachers that he's combating were advocating for that they should promulgate Jewishness more amongst these new believers who were Gentiles. And he's like, no, you got to carry your own load. And it's a different context than what he said, bearing one another's burdens. Those who are taught the word must share in all good things with their teacher. A lot of people point to this and say, well, that's an argument for paying ministers and paying teachers. All who are taught must share in all good things with their teacher. I don't know if it's a thing for a raise or not, but there you have it. It comes out of nowhere. It could be that the reason why he said this was because there were people who were saying that they shouldn't have to, okay? And this is probably what Paul is thinking about, okay? Verse 7, do not be deceived. So, by the way, those first 6 verses were verses that were optional, okay? These ones that follow from 7 through 16 are the ones that were appointed. The first 6 verses were optional. Verse 7, do not be deceived. God is not mocked, for you reap whatever you sow. Just a reminder that, maybe these New Age people are right. Whatever you put out there, you're going to get back. Okay, God is not mocked. Okay, the people talk about, the universe. Don't put out into the universe what you don't want to. Well, that's another way of saying God. That's what they're doing. That's another way of saying God. God is not mocked, for you reap whatever you sow. Whatever you plant in that field, whatever field you're playing in, you're going to get that. If you sow to your own flesh, you will reap corruption from the flesh. If you sow to the Spirit, you will reap eternal life from the Spirit. If you're going to play in that pool, you're going to deal with what's there. Okay, that's all there is to it. What is it that you truly want is what you have to decide. All right. So let us not grow weary in doing what is right, for we will reap at harvest time if we do not give up. Don't grow weary in doing what is right. Another good one. Don't grow weary. A lot of people grow weary in doing right and they turn to the wrong, okay? So then, whenever we have an opportunity, let us work for the good of all, especially for those of the family of faith. So, yes, Paul has a predilection for supporting each other in our community, but also it's got to be more universal. So this is a very clear indication that Paul sees the impact of Christianity as being beyond just the community. Remember, it's always got to be looking outward. That's the reason why we do our outreach. Plain and simple. That's why we do our outreach. That's what's there for us to do. I'm hearing leaf blowers in the distance. I hope they don't come too close very soon, because I need to wrap this up. Even the circumcised, it is verse 11 now. See what large letters I make when I am writing in my own hand. It is those who want to make a good showing in the flesh that try to compel you to be circumcised, only that they may not be persecuted for the cross of Christ. This is, again, okay, Paul doesn't normally write these things. He usually has an amanuensis, okay, who has specific gifts and communicating what Paul is dictating, right? Well, here he's saying, hey, I'm actually writing my own hand, and he's amazed at it. He's amazed at it because he doesn't do it very often. But he's talking here about those people who he is combating against, right? Those who compel him to be circumcised. They're only doing it because they are trying to impose their will. They're not trying to impose love. They're not trying to impose the law of love, the command of Christ, but it's only for their own gain, their own pride, if you will. Verse 13, even the circumcised do not themselves obey the law, but they want you to be circumcised so that they may boast about your flesh. See, it's all about them counting like, oh, I'm still being good because I'm holding to this ancient ideal of what needs to happen when a person converts. Paul's saying, not necessary. In and of itself, it means nothing. May I never boast of anything except the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, by which the world has been crucified to me, and I to the world. Paul takes Christ's crucifixion as something that has indeed happened to him, and in fact, he's experienced it in his own rejection. Okay? Verse 15, for neither circumcision nor uncircumcision is anything. These religious acts mean nothing in and of themselves, okay? But a new creation is everything, okay? New creation, that's what we have been given access to by the resurrection, by the gift of the Spirit. That's everything. That's what's supposed to matter to in making us live as those for God. As for those who will follow this rule, peace be upon them and mercy and upon the Israel of God. All right. I'm not going to finish that letter because there's 2 more verses there, but I got to move on because I hear leaf blowers coming, and I don't want to have to fight with them, their noise. Okay. We are in Luke chapter 10, okay? Chapter 10. All right. After this, the Lord appointed 70 others and sent them on ahead in pairs to every town and place where he himself intended to go. He said to them, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. Go on your way. See, I am sending you out like lambs into the midst of wolves. Carry no purse, no bag, no sandals, and greet no one on the road. Whatever house you enter, first say, peace to this house. And if anyone is there who shares in peace, your peace will rest on that person. But if not, it will return to you. Remain in the same house, eating and drinking whatever they provide for the laborer deserves to be paid. Do not move about from house to house. It could be that this is paired up with Paul's lesson because he talks about the learners should share with the teachers of their goods. Remember, Jesus just got done commissioning the 12 to go out and do stuff. Now he's commissioning 70. The 70 is a reference to the list of nations that we have back in Leviticus with regard to listing off all the nations of the world. In the Hebrew language, it came out to 70 nations. When they translated it into Greek, in the 3rd to the 1st century before Christ, okay, somehow it got to the list was 72 nations. So that's the reason why there's a lot of textual evidence for both the word 70 and 72 with regard to this. But the idea is it's supposed to be a universalistic type of a representation, the number itself, as opposed to the 12, which is more of an Israel number of completeness. Whenever you enter a town and its people welcome you, eat what is set before you, cure the sick who are there, and say to them, the kingdom of God has come near to you. Now, notice that it says, eat what's set before you. Eating, knowing what to eat was a big deal, because the old way of being was that you are distinct about who you are by what people see you eat and what they see you don't eat. You want to be distinct. You want to be distinct in that way. And Paul's saying, eat whatever's sent before you. We're not going to put that in the space of communication. We want to make sure that we ease the way. We want to unhinder, which is the last word in the book of Acts, which Luke also wrote. We want to unhinder the proclamation of the gospel. Cure the sick who are there and say to them, the kingdom of God has come near to you. That's exactly the same thing that Luke says that Jesus' message was. The kingdom of God has come near to you. So he's saying, you just do what your Savior did in his ministry. That's what he's telling them. But whenever you enter a town and they do not welcome you, go out into its streets and say, even the dust of your feet, even the dust of your town that clings to our feet, we wipe off in protest against you. Yet know this, the kingdom of God has come near. A protest against you isn't like a curse. What they're saying is like, hey, we brought nothing here. We're taking nothing. Whatever it is you're putting on us, we're not taking it with us. You like that? I like that. Yet know this, and they bookmark it. The kingdom of God has come near. The same message Jesus had for everybody, that's the message we leave with you regardless of how you received it. Lovely. I like that. We're going to skip down to verses 16 to 20, and that will be done. Whoever listens to you listens to me, and whoever rejects you rejects me, and whoever rejects me rejects the one who sent me. Remember, it is his message that they're out there with, right? The 70 returned with joy, saying, Lord, in your name, even the demons submit to us. Remember, they were told to cure the sick, and I think that inherently means demon cleansing, okay? He said to them, I watched. I think is what Jesus is saying is, I saw. Okay, you're saying you saw even the demons submit to us? Yeah, I saw Satan fall from heaven like a flash of lightning. Jesus is talking about the fact that in their proclamation of this gospel, this good news, this same message that he proclaimed with regard to the kingdom of God has come near, it's like, this means that there's change a-coming, okay? Satan fell from heaven like a flash of lightning. This is not Jesus having a flashback to this idea that there's this fallen angel, yada blah. It's the idea that the kingdom is winning. And that's what Jesus is trying to say. Oh yes, in your actions. He commissioned them. He commissioned them to go out and cure people and heal them of diseases and to proclaim the good news, right? In our doing that and being faithful to that, what happens is we're winning. Satan fell from heaven like a flash of lightning. Whenever the good news is put out there, that's where the falling is happening. When God wins, not God loses. See, I have given you authority to tread on snakes and scorpions over all the power of the enemy. Yeah, Jesus is saying, I've given you the same power that I have, the power over creation. You have power too, if you will only but use it. And nothing will hurt you. Okay, something hurt Jesus. We don't know how far we maybe should take this. Verse 20, nevertheless, do not rejoice at this, that the spirits submit to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven. Don't get a prideful way about you, about the fact that the power that I've given you is fantastic and it really makes a difference. Don't get all uppity about that. It's something that I've done on purpose, and I want you to exercise it with caution and not to get a big head about it. You please know that your power comes from me, and what you should rejoice in is that you are mine forever. And that's what matters most. Do not use this as a source for your own pride and boasting. Maybe that's the reason why it's related a little bit to the Galatians passage as well, right? Which Paul's, in his battle with the people that were insisting on a circumcision and were all about the numbers and such. This is all we have for today in our fourth Sunday after Pentecost. We continue to rejoice in the power of the Spirit. Until next time, peace.